Go ahead. Hi.
Hi.
Okay.
Hi, Natalie.
Hi, it's Nicole, even though there's no video.
All right.
Hi, Haley.
And I'm Ashley, and I'm going to record on my phone until we can figure this out, and then I'll upload it. Okay. So keep going. Sorry, I cut you off.
Okay. So when we do the introduction, we'll explain what is it? Ash, is that who's doing the introduction?
I think Nicole is.
Yeah, Nicole. Okay.
Yeah.
So Nicole, do the introduction. You'll explain what evidence-based practices are,
Right?
And then also we can talk about how in the beginning of our book, how it talks about the case in, I think, Florida, I think it was, how, there was a lot of malpractice going on and people that said that they were behavior interventionists and behavior modification, or, they were doing really highly inappropriate things.
Yeah.
But they thought they were actually helping, which is crazy, but that's one of the reasons why we have to do, have the evidence-based.
Yeah, that was in the first chapter of our book, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I thought we could write that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
A little bit. Because I think that's pretty good foundation that leads up to, why we're at where we are today.
Yeah.
That's good.
Kaylee, are you writing up kind of the outline or like a draft-ish?
Yeah, so I'm just writing, okay, so the introduction would be explaining evidence-based practice, what it is, and kind of the background of it, and then the Florida case. And then I did find an article that kind of talked about the whole No Child Left Behind Act and how everything got started.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of goes into the negative aspect of it too. So that's we can use that as one point in the debate, or why because I was thinking, I'm why would evidence-based practice not be a good idea to have?
That was kind of my thought. Why are we arguing this?
Exactly.
This is a debate.
It all seems very positive, but this article kind of gives a little bit of background, and then also the negative aspects of it too. So, all right. So we have our intro, and then we just go right into our main point.
So should we do one positive, one negative, and that way we can all research and kind of put things together for positive and put things together for negative? Maybe do one positive argument, one negative argument about it.
For each bullet point, you mean?
Yeah. Or
for just have, let me see.
Some of the bullet points, some of the topics were really hard to find information on for me. So,
I agree, me too.
So when I posted in our file exchange, I picked several, but on some of them I just didn't have anything. I wasn't sure where to go. But
yeah, I agree, because I used the Ball State kind of research thing to look up everything, and I also had a hard time finding stuff like that pertaining to what she had kind of the bullet points that she wanted us to put.
Okay. And I did come up with some not cons, but difficulties with standardizing evidence-based practices. So maybe that's one way we could go, instead of saying no, we shouldn't do it. Just talk about the difficulties behind that. So I have a few of those who or how we would enforce these standards, generalizing across settings, using these practices, clinic settings and schools and things like that, and training, make sure everyone's trained that works with the child.
Yeah, and then I had an article that was the risk in decision-making in developing it, evidence-based practices as well, which my link isn't working right now, but...
one of the bullet points is differences in what evidence-based programs include, appropriate outcome measures, and professional practices. So that kind of sounds like what you were talking about, Kaylee, just the differences among different practices. I had several articles.
Difficulty in keeping it consistent across.
Right, yeah, because what's evidence-based treatment in the medical field is not necessarily going to be an ABA. It's not necessarily going to be the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And I think there's a lot to say on the bullet point of professional and ethical issues and dilemmas, because it is a vulnerable population. So, informed consents and inclusion and exclusion criteria, all of those things. I think we can talk a lot about that specifically. And then also in the clinical trials, like randomization and, just kind of what sort of experimental designs are being used, and, are they ones that can prove validity as far as the making it evidence-based.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, like the funding for the research and interventions, that's something to consider, because, who's funding it, I think, can sometimes play a role into, it may bias, or,
Yeah.
There's all kinds of things I feel like we can talk
about.
Yeah,
and that is with the whole, research-based and validity is a lot of these research articles are single subject, and so that's where a lot of the scrutiny comes in, and it's hard to replicate.
Another issue
Go ahead, Nicole. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, but it's harder to do multiple baseline designs on this population, because it's like you have an intervention, then you take it away, and then you bring back the intervention, and that can be an ethical dilemma in itself.
Yeah.
Intervention that could be helping them, you're taking it away. So that's something I think we can talk about.
Yeah.
Well, that and treatment is so individualized. Like what works for one is not going to work for another.
Yeah.
Limitations.
Another ethical issue.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, and then that also falls with the exclusion and inclusion criteria, because, when we're looking at an evidence-based practice, when you look at the reviews, who was included, what sort of, what were the exclusionary criteria? I mean, who the participants are is very much key, I think, in this, because like you said, it's very individualized.
Yeah. One of the bullet points also just says positions, and do you agree, disagree, or why not? So that could be itself, each of us just saying our opinion in it as part of it. So that way she could hear our side of the story from it. Oh, whoa.
It's funny. It seems like now we have more difficulties rather than pro arguments with this.
Yeah, I found that a little bit too, because I'm all for obviously improving individuals' lives and having a stamp, but I guess what makes it that is what is the scrutiny.
Yeah, I agree.
Because
Sorry,
anybody can say, "Oh, this is evidence-based," but just because the National Standards Project says so, where are they getting their information, and what does it look like? So it's definitely needed, because we need interventions, but
yes.
it's the wording, I guess, is what gets tricky, because what determines that?
It's funny because I'm doing I'm getting certified as an RBT right now. I'm an ABA therapist, and in the training that we have to watch, it's teaching us about different consequences and interventions, but then it says not to use it unless it's the very last thing. But then I'm like, well, then why even teach us, and why even make it available if it's something that you guys say not really to use? Like punishments and interventions. It's talking about different ones, but it says not to use it unless it's the very last cause.
I think that's on Relias Learning too, where it says,
Yeah.
But
so that was standardized, yet we're not supposed to use it. That's an intervention not to use.
Something else to think about. Part of the definition of evidence-based practice is using, it says, best available evidence with client values and context and clinical expertise. That kind of leaves an area open for opinions. So if you're working with someone, who's been doing ABA therapy for years, the approach they may have may not necessarily be evidence-based practice. Where's the ethics in that? Something that they've seen work for themselves over the years, but that may not necessarily be accurate.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
So then we have to think about
trainings come in, and that's, that who's to say what is the best the best practice and who's, where's this coming from? Because it is very opinionated. I mean, just working in the field with different BCBAs, you see a lot of different opinions. So,
right?
Yeah, I agree with that. And everyone seems to have their particular interview.
Yeah. Because that's like with the company I work for now, we have 4 BCBAs and a lead BCBA. And like the lead BCBA decides everything. So then it's like a struggle because the 4 each want to do their own thing. But because there's a lead BCBA, they all have to follow under her.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a huge struggle for them right now because we're like changing everything so that everyone's on the same page versus everyone was running their own programs and interventions. Everyone's trying to merge right now.
That's kind of crazy because it's like the same, everyone has the same background. They're all BCBAs.
Yeah, but they all want to run their programs differently. But because we now have a lead BCBA, so they're kind of butting heads now because it's like one thinks one intervention is better versus the other on some cases.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, that's interesting because you would think with the same background in training and education, they probably would agree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe the lead has your doctorate or something.
All right.
I don't know.
That is interesting.
But yeah, that's tough. I can't imagine. Easy. Okay, so should we narrow down? Should we come up with our bullet points right now, or?
Yeah.
That's good, yeah, because my kids are going to be home in about 15 minutes.
Okay. No
So
problem.
I'm going to have to run and get that, or, they'll be here, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. I'm going out for my mom's birthday in a few minutes anyway, in like 15 minutes, so that works. So. Sorry, don't mean to rush you guys or anything.
No, you're fine.
No, we're all busy.
Yeah, it's hard.
Because if we come up with our bullet points now, Kaylee, if you can just email us those bullet points, and then what we can do is each just, I guess, help each other find the research for it.
Okay, well, I put it in my link. Do you want me to read what I have, and then we can kind of, I mean, it's a little bit about what we talked about. So for the yes, I have consistency. It's all research-based, ethical, treatment of individuals. It's current. We have an obligation to our clients to provide them with the most current research-based ethical treatment possible. So I don't know what else what do you think for pros?
That's for individual outcomes?
Yeah, I was just thinking, for the...
Were you just thinking in general, like why we should use evidence-based?
Yeah, yes,
okay.
Exactly.
So in general, it's ethical, it's standardized, it's all, it's all that. But, I mean, why wouldn't we use evidence-based? Can you guys think of any negatives to using evidence-based? I keep looking at the camera like I'm talking to...
I know.
You guys can't see me.
That's funny.
But when you talk, I make sure to put it on your name, even though it's a blank screen.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. I am here.
It's tough because
I can't think of it to not use evidence-based, but I think determining what is evidence is what's problematic.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yes, you're right.
That's where the con, and I think that's where the criticism can fall, and where we need to kind of tighten what that means up to make it to truly ensure that it is evidence-based. Sorry, I'm looking down kind of at my.
No, you're fine.
I'm talking to the camera. I'm talking to my paper here, but that to me, I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. There's just a lot of the bullet points I think that I like to talk about are the professional and ethical issues and dilemmas, because that seems obvious to me, because we like you said, we want evidence-based, but there are problems that can go along with just what determines it to be evidence-based.
Mm-hmm.
Financial and political and societal impact. I think those two bullet points are definitely of interest to me.
Yeah, I mean, definitely have to relate it to ethics.
I agree with you, Natalie, and I think we're going to find a lot more information on those two topics. Because, I mean, it does cost money to run these experiments, and it does cost money to gather that data. And, you know, sometimes it's easier to maybe not spend the money on something like that just because you don't have it.
Yeah.
And then who the participants are in the informed consent process and all of that is a key too. Because who are we running studies on, and how is that impacting their lives? Do they have a say on whether or not they want to be a part of the study? And maybe they're totally fine with what they're doing, you know. And I guess it depends on what the intervention is for too. What exactly are you intervening? All those things I think are of importance to consider.
Yeah. And did we want to talk about how treatment is so individualized? I mean, that kind of goes along.
Yeah, that's kind of a major point. It is individualized.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just, I think specifically with this population, autism spectrum disorder, there's a huge spectrum. So, you know, you could fall under so many characteristics, and yes, you may have the same diagnosis of the person next to you, but your symptoms look completely different.
From high functioning, low functioning.
Right, exactly. So it's just, I think that's something to consider. And then, you know, in the speech delay, and how just the cognitive abilities in itself.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's functioning, there's low functioning, but, you know, maybe you have some of those other skills, but they're just not able to be, you know, you might have them, but you can't say them. You know, those sort of, that an individual, you know, cannot be social just because they are lacking in certain other of the domains. I guess I'm thinking like DB-MAP now.
Yeah, and along with funding, also training, you know, training professionals. How do we implement these practices like in other settings and keep current and up to date with all these, with all the new research and things like that.
Right.
Well,
yeah. And then how long the studies last too? You know, are these studies that are 6 weeks long? Are they, you know, so I think all of that's something a question too. To discuss. I think we have a lot we can talk about. I think we could probably go on and on for days.
That's true.
When we start to get our outline down, I think we'll be all right.
I keep checking my email to see if this girl emailed back yet. just in case you want to catch the last minute or so.
He's missing out on a really good conversation.
This is actually I thought the talking, the texting or typing out was better because then it's all there for us to see. But this is good.
Yeah.
Getting the conversation going. So this is helpful.
And what's cool is I will upload it so that we can all see it. So if we have to look back on something you guys said, because everyone's saying good things, it's there for us to look on. Because I guess I'll send her another email. What's another good time that everyone can meet this week? I mean, we can obviously meet on Sunday again just to finalize an outline.
Yeah.
But do we want to meet one more time?
I mean, if you guys want to just communicate through email.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea.
And then maybe see where we're at by Wednesday, halfway through the week, and if we need to meet again before Sunday.
Okay.
It's just so hard to find the time to all video and meet again.
Yeah. I can email the professor too and kind of ask about visuals and what she really expects for an outline and visuals, and that way we can kind of get an idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
We could start the outline and just email back and forth and add as we go. I think, you know.
Yeah, I think we'd be able to narrow down our points for sure, just through email. And then if we need to meet again over Google Hangout before Sunday.
Yeah.
Good.
We also need to figure out the whole Google Hangout thing. It said that it's done as of tomorrow, so.
Yeah, I will also, when I send her that email, ask her, what she recommends.
Yeah.
Because...
So YouTube Live is our option. Hangouts, is moving to YouTube Live, I guess.
Okay, YouTube Live.
Because we don't have enough to try and figure out now. Now we have to figure that out.
All right.
Yeah.
Contacts, videos,
What just happened? Oh.
Okay. All right.
Well, are you gonna email this to us or upload it on Google Hangouts, the video?
I'll try whichever one's easier.
Okay.
Because sometimes if I email it, it might be too big, but if I kind of do it through Google Hangouts as a file, maybe it'll work better.
Okay, then we'll just let Natalie know that she can watch.
Yeah, and if she needs it, like, I can upload the video on YouTube and then send it to her as a link.
Okay.
And then I'll just try to make it private so that only I can see it and, like, whoever I send the link to can see it.
Right.
Okay, so is this going on Gradebook then? Is she actually grading this video?
Yes.
Is she? Okay.
Because she says we have to record, she said we have to record 3.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember her saying what we had to do with it once it was recorded, though. That's the thing. Like, what do we do with it?
Let's see.
I don't see any place to submit it.
Send it.
Yeah, she made it very bold and yellow. Yeah.
I guess we'll just tell her where she can watch it.
It says, for this reason, I am requiring that each Google Hangout be recorded and posted to Blackboard. One person from each group should be responsible for posting this. Post the link to the video to your group discussion board.
Okay. So under my group, then, standardizing evidence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there's a group discussion board link.
There is, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so if she wants a link, then what I'm going to do is just upload this on my computer and then upload on YouTube as a link and then just give her a link to it.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I'm glad you know what you're doing because I had no idea.
Yes, thank you.
I filled out
Yeah.
with Becky and
Trying to figure this out. Okay. So we'll just aim for emailing, and then if we need to meet, we'll meet again. If not, we'll meet next Sunday.
Okay.
And I figured, like, next Sunday, we'll just talk it out, type it out, and send it.
We'll think of a time. I think I'm pretty open next Sunday for whenever. So
Yeah.
maybe that's make sure
yeah, that sounds good.
more time for that.
Okay, awesome. All right.
Okay.
All right.
So-
Nice seeing you guys.
All right.
Thanks, ladies.
Bye. See you next week.
Later.